Now, our next presenter is Charlie Brown, one of Australia's cutting-edge commentators on lifestyle technology.
Look, thank you, Alex, and thank you not just for the intro, but also for the amazing work that you do with supporting the ASCCA. You donate a lot of your time, mate. So it's great to have you involved with the event. It's great to be invited back to be part of this. Now, I've got, I'm told, 20 minutes. So I'm running the clock on this. So I'm going to bounce through what I think are some important things for you guys to think about over the next few months and into 2021. I speak at the event every year. So some of the things that I'm going to talk about are going to be picked up from things I was talking about last year. But if you weren't here last year, don't worry about it. There'll be plenty for you to understand without, you won't be missing out on anything. Let me just share my screen and we'll jump into this. I'm coming to you from the office in the backyard of my house that I built a couple of years ago. It's been great during lockdown. Here I often do my radio show. We do a Facebook Live show every week. We do a lot of filming for my TV show. We've done crosses to Today's Show and places like that from out the front. So it's nice to have a facility like this, and it's nice to join you from this facility for today's event. Now, I'm going to take, if you've got questions, I think you can ask them during the presentation and I can get to them at the end, I think.
Certainly can, Charlie.
Certainly can. Very, very good. Voice of God there. So just post them and I'll get to them at the end during the quick Q&A. I've got a few minutes to do that as we go through. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to talk about three things. One is the connected you. We've talked about the connected home. I'm going to talk about the connected you. I'm going to talk about what's coming in 2021 that I think is of interest to you. And as well, I'm going to talk about a couple of things that are here now that I would sort of put into other stuff, a couple of updates about what I've been doing in tech land, and a couple of things that people who tune into my radio show, especially, many of which are in the same type of demographic as you guys watching today, are asking me regularly. So I'm including that just because I think you'll be interested. Last year, I talked to you about the connected home. And when you look at this image, it's basically got every kind of thing in the house connected in some way. It's temperature settings and the robot that cleans the house. It's got light controllers, voice controllers. And we talked about that 12 months ago because we started seeing this technology creeping into homes, especially homes of older Australians, and providing value in some kind of way. How much it crept in, how much you used it, how much you got value from it was really up to you as a user. But over the last 12 months, I think what we've done with this kind of this yearning to be connected for reasons of staying in your homes longer, staying safer. When you leave your home, if you're living at home alone, for example, we've started seeing this thing called the you being connected, or the connected you, which is really just looking at the things that we, that taking all of the things that we want to feel safe or connected and putting them not in a device that you sort of wrap over your head and put it on like clothes or anything, but the thing that's become popular is smartwatches, and we've seen the growth of this in the last couple of months, especially, where they've actually created smartwatches either with older wearers in mind or smartwatches specifically designed for older wearers. The Apple Watch SE, which was announced a couple of months ago by Apple, it's the first watch from Apple where you don't actually require a companion iPhone to have the Apple Watch operational. So for about $500 now, you can just go buy a watch and you can get a whole bunch of the connected benefits of it, but you don't actually have to own an iPhone, which is interesting because some of you have said to me in the past that iPhones are quite expensive, at least unless you buy, if you don't want to buy a second-hand one, you're going to need to pay about $800 plus at least. So this is an option for you to get a watch, wear it on your wrist, it'll connect to the cellular network. $500 is the asking price for the SE Apple Watch, and off you go. The other one that was announced just in September from TCL was the MT43A. It's a smartwatch specifically designed for seniors. Now, both of these watches I think will be of interest to you because they've got a range of features. They've got fall detection, so they can send the alert to someone in the family if you fall over at home. Location tracking. If look, some of us get disorientated when we leave home, when we go for walks, etc. We still want to exercise, but we can set penalty boxes, for example, on how far away we should walk and get an alert to somebody if we walk too far from home. The TCL's got a button on the side, which is an SOS alarm. The Apple Watch has got a similar kind of feature built into it. The battery lives have gotten longer. Not so much Apple, it's still a day, but TCL's 2 days. And you can use, you can make calls and SMS. There's voice dialing. There's one touch dialing on the screen. And there's a whole chunk of health data that's collected and shared and with you, and you can revisit through another smart device like a tablet or a phone. But the thing about it is, it's the one device sits on your wrist, and it really becomes that companion product for you if you're wanting to be connected, feel safer, and go forward from there. So that's something that that you should look into if you haven't already. The thing to be aware of, though, there's a couple of things. If you're buying a smartwatch, especially for yourselves, some of them have got monthly subscriptions. I'm not talking about the connection to the phone network either. I'm talking about a subscription that you have to pay, and if you don't pay it, then it basically doesn't work. You need to understand the total price of the device, not just the purchase price. So if it's got a monthly subscription, I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but you just need to be aware of what the costs of usage are once you take it home and set it up. The other thing, make sure it's got features of value, like some of the smartwatches that don't have fall detection, for example. I think that's a very important feature for many of you watching today. Adds to the safety of the device. Other ones are dodgy quality, and I'm not being specific. They're just dodgy. Like, you can buy $50 smartwatches, and I've seen them, and just generally dodgy. Watch out for general dodginess in the smartwatch category, but that's not in any of the examples that I've shown you. The other thing I wanted to talk to you quickly about is many of you have asked about cameras in the home that provide connectivity between, for example, your partner and yourself. You might go out during the day to the shops or whatever, but your partner needs to stay at home. He's not as mobile anymore. How can you be kept up to date with their safety at home? Well, Swann have a tracker camera. Now, those two images that you're seeing are actually from the one camera. As the top image is 180 degree field of view. And it's actually sitting on a bookshelf on the side wall in that big room, and it can see all up and down the side of the room. The person in the middle of the room is Sarah. She's a presenter on our TV show Cyber Shack. And when we did this video, Sarah's walking around the room, and the bottom image is tracking Sarah's movement. It will track a human, it'll track an animal, one of your pets, for example, but it can also send an alert to you that it is active and tracking somebody in the room. It's got that ultra wide camera shot, but you'll see from the camera there that traditionally to get an ultra wide shot like that, you'd have to have a pan and tilt function on your camera. You don't need to have that with this thing. It's got the tight shot object tracking. It's got two-way talk. So if you're at the shops on the app on your smartphone, you can dial to the camera. You can talk to the person in the room. Again, it's going to be a bit of the voice of God for first few times, but you can at least have a conversation with the person there. They can't talk to you, initiate the discussion to you, but you can do it to them. There's motion alerts, so you can be kept alert that there is movement in the house. It's easy to set up. Just you need to connect it to your Wi-Fi and the app walks you through the process. And these things are now $150, which is not expensive for something that's got so many different features in it. The other thing I'm going to come back to or need to reiterate is when you're looking at a security camera, look at the ongoing cost. This one, Swann as a brand, they give you 7 days of free cloud storage. Other brands require you to purchase a subscription to have cloud storage, and if you don't purchase it, you can't have any cloud storage, or even worse, the camera won't work at all. So understand the purchase price, and then understand the ongoing costs associated with using that product when you're doing some research on this. So this tracker camera just came out. Well worth a look if you wanted to put a camera in your house and be connected to who's at home when you're not home, for example. Now, let's talk about your next smartphone. Many of you have asked, should I go 5G? Now, I don't know what anyone else has said on this presentation so far. I'm just going to give you my opinion on it. I'll tell you now, I use a 4G phone. I don't use a 5G phone. And the thing about it is, in 2021, it's not even going to be a question of whether you should go one way or the other. We're now seeing 5G handsets at under $500. In my view, the feature sets of the $500 4G phones are a little bit better, but that's probably because they don't have to incorporate that extra cost of the 5G of compatibility. Motorola's got a good phone. Nokia's got a good phone at $499. You're going to see first half of 2021 5G handsets come in at $400. The second half they're going to be $300. So your next phone, it'll be 4G or 5G. I wouldn't even worry about it. It's probably going to be 5G as we roll into 2021 because it's just going to be affordable to have that feature. You're going to need to question more. Do you pay extra to your provider for the fastness of the 5G? I know I wouldn't, but look, no offense to any of the telcos. There's just no applications that I want to do on my smartphone that I can't do on a 4G handset versus a 5G. That's just my opinion on that. All right. So where you are going to need to make some decisions is in home internet, because 5G is going to be competing with NBN, even though there's a federal law that says they're not allowed to advertise directly against NBN plans, for example, and all that stuff. There's still going to be an alternate method of getting the internet in your home. We are going to see TPG, now that they've merged with Vodafone, they're going to offer cost-effective 5G home broadband kits in 2021. They've already announced that they're going to do that. They just don't have the 5G towers anywhere or enough places yet to offer it. But Telstra and Optus are already offering 5G home kits at the moment. And so you can go buy one of those if you want to. The thing about what we are also seeing is Optus is recently, about a couple of weeks ago, if you want to get their 5G home broadband kit, you can get the NBN equivalent speed of 50 down, 20 up, and it's one price, or you can pay about $10 a month extra and get the unthrottled home broadband kit, which will go up to 250 or 300 megabits. So as a consumer, you're going to get to choose. Do you get this speed, or do you pay a bit more and get this speed on 5G as well, like what we do with NBN, but it's more of a capped speed versus unthrottled speed. So you're going to need to make a choice on that. We'll keep moving. Number one question I get asked is, how do I get Wi-Fi everywhere in the home? And this Deco M5, I set it up at my father-in-law's house 2 weeks ago. And it's really, really good because, I mean, nothing against them, my parents-in-law, but I can actually see via the app whether it's working and what devices they've got connected to it. And the other day they rang and said, oh, the Mac in the study won't get on internet. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, hang on. It's connected to the network, so just restart the computer. And they did, and then it was working, and which was really great because I mean I didn't actually have to go over to their house to try and get this working again, right? So much more efficient. Anyway, this thing only costs $300. I wouldn't recommend it for a family with 5 teenagers. It's not fast enough with the amount of currently connected devices. But for $300, we put this through a standard 4-bedroom, 3-bedroom. Plus double lockup garage, which is used as a giant study, and the Wi-Fi is everywhere. And you get this idea of this single SSID, which is that one network, Wi-Fi network name that you connect to, and then wherever you walk in the house, it just has Wi-Fi everywhere. But for $300, and it took about an hour to set it up. So if you're trying to get Wi-Fi everywhere in your home, if you've got multiple Wi-Fi signals in your home because you've got a router at one end of the house and another one at the other, just for $300 you can get something like this, and it's really going to make things a lot easier for you. that's something to look at. Now, other stuff. I wanted to talk to you. You guys did this event for us at the beginning of the year when we launched these smart devices called Gme, and big thanks to Nan again for that. It was really great. And then the whole world went into lockdown, which probably wasn't the best time to launch a smart device brand, but anyway, it's too late. We'd already done it. We're now selling through eBay and Amazon and Catch. If you haven't heard of Gme before, it's we build these smartphone and smart player devices, and they've got parental controls built in. They've got a call blocking feature, which is free. You talked about call blocking before. We built this app for Gme Connect so that you can actually set times of the day when all your calls will be diverted straight to voicemail. Very, very handy. You can even go, I want to block all calls from Nigeria during dinner time, and the call block will send them straight to voicemail, so you won't get hit by scammers, for example. So anyway, we're selling all them through the eBay guys and Amazon and Catch and our website. And then in 2020, very shortly, we're going to go for sale through a national retailer. Can't tell you who yet. Not too far away, a couple of weeks away, we'll have them. We'll have our products in stores with those guys. And then in 2021, we'll have a telco partner as well. And you'll be able to buy Gme Connect on a plan. So that's kind of what we did there. And then the other thing, some of you have been saying, where am I these days? Well, we still got our TV show on Channel 9. That's going very well. Next one's November 22. The radio show, thank you for listening. Our ratings are just high. They're ridiculously high. They're like, we're getting a 17% in the last survey, which is the biggest ever, partly because of lockdown. Maybe you got nothing else to do. I don't know, but you're listening. So that's the main thing. So thank you. Still popping up on 9 News and A Current Affair. And that's where I've been popping up. So maybe, do we go to questions now?
Excellent. Sure.
And I'll just sort of see how I get the question. Oh, here we go.
I got some questions for you, Charlie. What is from Ursula in Darwin? What's your opinion of Oppo as a phone brand?
Yeah, fine. I mean, they're doing really well globally. And they've got, I guess, look, the biggest issue with Oppo is they've got so many phones, so many different specs. You know what I mean? It's very hard to find the right one. But look, they're doing very well because they're in that mid-market space, which is getting quite competitive. But Oppo, TCL, they're a couple of good brands. They've got some good handsets. They're well supported because they've got people here. So if you have a warranty claim and stuff, so no hesitation with using those ones.
Sorry, next question is 5G going to be any good in regional or remote? And additional question, especially in steel framed houses.
So anything with a steel frame, it acts a bit like a Faraday cage, right? So that's an issue because at the end of the day, the signal, just like with 4G or 3G, it's got to get through the walls. And if the tower is too far away, or if you've got too much resistance in the building, then it will impact the depth of that penetration into the house. So it can. You just got to test it, right? You just got to test it. I mean, at the end of the day, if you buy a 5G home kit and you take it home and it doesn't work in your home, then you just got to return it. At the end of the day, you are protected by Australian consumer law. And if you are sold a product that doesn't work in your house, and you are in the coverage area, I mean, don't buy it if you live, I don't know, in Kalgoorlie and there's no 5G tower nearby, for example, or anything. But it's not going to work then. But if you do buy it and get it home doesn't work, take it back. It will work. It will work now. There's talk about another 5G frequency being released in the second half of 2021 called M-Wave. And that's more for short distance 5G, very, very fast speeds, very, very short distances. So things such as football stadiums will have that. And if you go to the football stadium and you want to watch a screen rather than watching the game, I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's where they're going to roll out that kind of technology, right? So in regional, though, it can work just as well because the distance, as long as it's sort of flat and there's no mountains and things, it's going to be rolled out, and it's going to be it's going to work very well. Now, I did ask the minister, Paul Fletcher, about a month ago when they made a big NBN announcement, whether they would use 5G as part of that fixed wireless NBN service. He said no plans yet, but he said they could. So it might be used as part of NBN in some way in the future, even though they don't have any plans at the moment.
Thank you. I think Alex has some questions too.
Yeah, just following on from some of the questions from the audience, just with the 5G in the home, can people use one of those Selfie range extenders, which they could probably put on the outside of their house with some sort of antenna to boost 3G, 4G, or in the future, a 5G signal in the house, if they're in that Faraday cage type situation? And then secondly, if they do have that coverage issue, are they able to use the Wi-Fi calling feature that is on a lot of people's phones to connect to the home Wi-Fi and then make calls through the broadband network, but still it comes through on their phone?
So I love Wi-Fi calling, right? I think Wi-Fi calling, some people will say, oh, I've tried it, it hasn't worked that well. Let me tell you, I think it's fantastic, because for so many people who live in some kind of a black spot for whatever reason, it means you can get good calling. The issue people run into is that the provider doesn't bundle Wi-Fi calling with
well, the major
plan.
ones do, but a lot of the MVNOs don't.
Well, but even Optus came out and said, okay, Wi-Fi calling for all of our Optus wholesale customers is now activated.
Well, they said it was activated, but it was going to be activated, which is not the same as being activated, which is annoying.
But that's right, because all of a sudden we all went, fantastic, everyone's going to have this, and then no. But there are resellers that do have Wi-Fi calling. I mean, Boost, for example, because it's just a white label of Telstra service, they've got it. If I use it all the time, and I would recommend that if you can use it, because it is much better, and it actually puts the control of the call quality into your hands, because you can boost Wi-Fi in your house with whole home or boosters, right? So you've got some control over that. You talked about the ability to put an antenna outside your house. Of course you can. Sometimes it requires like a local specialist to come and do that and to plug in. And they are. But at the same time, Alex, I mean, if I pointed the camera out the window, you would see how far it is to my gate, and then there's a 50-meter driveway up to the street. I dug a trench all the way to that street and laid conduit so that I could get Optus cable first and then NBN cable. But I knew that it was only an $800 investment, but I knew that I was going to get fixed line internet after doing it. It was worth doing because the experience of internet in the home here and the office is so much better. So it's worth looking at.
So do you have fiber to the premises, or are you on an FTTN connection?
I looked at it today. I actually looked at trying to do a what's called an enterprise Ethernet hack for people for people who are watching. It's basically running fiber to the property, pretending that it's a business premises, and it's connected to the NBN in a slightly different way. It's much more expensive, but for me, it's going to be $500 a month. It's too much compared to $100. But what it does. But what it means is that because we're on the Foxtel cable here, so we don't. Fiber is a bit better for ping time, but not for overall bandwidth, especially as NBN speeds are going to be boosting over the next few months with this new announcement they did. So we get away with HFC, and look, if you're at home on fiber to the node, I don't mean to be offensive and saying we get away with HFC. I know that many people on that technology has got plenty of challenges, but no, we do it that way. But what I've always done is I've looked at what do I need to do to get good internet in my house? Is there an infrastructure input that I can add myself that's going to improve it? What's the cost? Is it worth it? And then go forward from there.
Sam,
Charlie and Alex, we've got a couple more questions come in. Do you know how much 5G M-Wave coverage we're going to get in major cities in the future? Mystery question?
Well, but we don't know until they've announced that we're going to have it. But I think Telstra's the first, Alex, we're talking about in the second half of 2021, right? So,
well, April is when the spectrum is being auctioned, but just because they're auctioning the spectrum doesn't mean they're going to have the towers rolled out. And the towers, there's going to need to be a lot of them because it's short range, and that costs money. They have to rent spaces on buildings, and we don't know. And that's why Apple didn't bother with launching the millimeter wave version of the iPhone anywhere outside of America, because America is where they have all the investment.
And look at the pushback from people in the suburbs when new transmitters go up. So it's probably not going to be something that we use in the suburbs, not in the short term anyway, because residents don't want transmitters going up. And we have enough problem with towns saying that 5G is causing headaches and nausea and all this stuff. I mean, there's one town, and I'm not going to say which one it was because I was told this off the record by a telco. They put up a 5G tower, and then they started getting complaints that people were vomiting and having headaches, but they hadn't even turned the 5G on yet. So, you know what I mean? It's just so
psychosomatic.
It's just so ridiculous in so many ways. It's going to be M-Wave, I think, is just going to be for mainly businesses, especially because really high bandwidth consuming areas first.
And that usually means airports and the CBDs,
Yeah.
which guess what? That's where they installed 4G first and 3G first. They install it in the areas I know they're going to get customers. And then they will continue to expand it. And look, they will just like we had 3G, 3.5G, 4G, 4.5, 4GX. There's going to be better flavors of 5G, faster versions thereof. 2020s will be the decade of 5G. And I mean, already I saw a 6G conference from Fierce Wireless the other day, and China is supposed to have launched a 6G satellite with terahertz frequency, which is even higher than gigahertz. So, I mean, as we said with the Google talk, technology is going like this exponentially. And,
but you also, but Alex has touched on an interesting point here, right? They had this big debate in the United States when Sprint was able to merge with what was the other telco they merged with, Alex?
Verizon or
no, not Verizon.
T-Mobile
and Sprint merged, and they were basically in the court case and in the courtroom in front of the judge presenting, and the guys from Sprint, basically the Dish network who wanted to buy Boost that was owned by Sprint, that had to be released as part of the deal. They were sort of, oh, well, are we going to let Dish network buy Boost because they're going to get all these customers and stores and plans and things like that? Well, Dish network went and presented to the judge in closed quarters about what they were doing with satellite connected phone services in the years ahead. And he walked out and said, you know what you guys are doing with these traditional telcos with towers and things like that, Boost, you can go join Dish, because I tell you what, there's going to be a whole new competitor coming your way, Mr. AT&T and Verizon. So in the next 5 years, it's going to be a very, very different playing field.
And we've seen already with Elon Musk putting satellites up in the sky, people are already paying $99 a month in the US to get hundreds of megabits on a system that is still so new that as the satellites cross each other in the sky, you can drop your connection for a moment or two. But I mean, he's putting up more satellites all the time. So the world will be bathed in bandwidth and broadband, super fast broadband, it's quicker than we know it.
Exactly right.
As long as we get it out to Tika out in the Northern Territory there as well. Get some of those regionals covered as well.
Absolutely. That's one of the great things about it. Well, look, Charlie, thank you so much for your presentation. Very, very informative as per usual. I'm sure the audience loved it, and we had some great questions there. So we really appreciate your time, and you're obviously super welcome again next year, and we'll be in contact long before then.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks to the ASCCA, and thanks everyone for watching, and have a great rest of the conference.